Welcome guys to the next lecture of HTML basic coding. In today's lecture we will talk about three main things in HTML. Our first topic will be HTML lists. The next topic will be about HTML block and inline elements, and lastly we will discuss HTML classes and IDs. So first, if I give you a little overview about lists, so lists are basically used in HTML in different type of projects. For example, we can utilize lists in creating menus. You may be aware of the fact that in different websites there are menus. So those menus are basically created with the help of HTML lists. The next thing is block and inline element. So it's really important because in creating different layout, block level elements are used. Almost all the elements, or we can say that up to 70% elements in HTML are block level, and there are also some inline elements. So both of them have their own uses. We can utilize both of them for different purposes. So we will talk the basics of it and practically implement it as well. So you will get to know about the idea that how to utilize it in different website creation. Then we will understand the important concept of classes and IDs. Classes and IDs are really important because you cannot do formatting of your HTML without classes and IDs. We will understand that what is the difference between classes and IDs. We will get to know this also in detail. So let's jump to our first topic, which is about HTML lists. So how to create lists in HTML? So let me tell you. The first thing is that we have two type of lists in HTML. One is unordered list and next one is order list. So if I create unordered list, then I will simply type UL, which means that it is unordered list. So it is basically an unordered list creation, and what goes inside a list is list item. So there is one list item. We will create list items by li, which means list items. So for example, I want to create three list items, then I'll simply type li and closed it as well. So it means that I have created unordered list. For example, I want to type some data, Java, HTML, and for instance CSS. So this is basically my unordered list. If I launch it in my Google Chrome, then let me show it to you. As you can see that this is unordered list. There is no order, but like we can say that there is no order that which one is number one or which one is number two or which one is number three. It's just a list with unordered type. So in order to create order list, we have to simply type OL, which means order list. So OL mean order list, and we have also to give it list items. For example, I want to create three list items, so I will simply type three list items, open it, and then close it. For example, in my list items I want to give databases, graphics, and the third one for instance PHP. Then it would create list item for me which would have numbering. As you can see that it has got numbering. Let me give it some style so that you can see it. For example, style is equal to font size 20 pixel, let's say 40 pixel, and also to our order list so you can see it. So as you can see it that we have got unordered list and order list. After it, what we can do that we can change the bullets of unordered list and order list as well. How? We will use one property by the name of list style type. list style type, which will change the bullets of unordered and ordered list. So for example, in unordered list, I want to give list style type square. Although we have many square, circle, and there are many more. For example, let me give it list style type square. In that case, as you can see that it has got square bulleted form. And for example, I want to change the list style type of order list as well. So list style type, for example, uh, for example, let me give it upper alpha. Okay. So in that case, so as you can see that it has been converted to alphabetical list A, B, and C. You can also give it upper Roman. In that case, it is converted to the Roman type. This was about our unordered and ordered list. There is one another type of list which is called uh, DL list or data list. So let us discuss data list, how to create data list and what is the purpose of data list. Let me tell you. So in order to create data list, you have to open DL and then close it as well. So it means that we have created data list. In data list, there are two things that goes inside. What is data? One is data term and the next thing is data definition. One is data term and another one is data definition. So let me create three of them. For example, let me give it Java, or you can say that we can also say some other thing, GD. For example, as an example, I am taking it as abbreviation. So in the definition of it, I will write graphics designing. For example, Java programming, that is the term, so I can give it the definition Java programming. Another one is web development, for example, then we can say that it is web development. So let me show it to you. As you can see that our data term has the definition GD graphic designing, JP Java programming, WD web development. So this is the data term and this is the data definition. This is the data term and this is the data definition. So this was about data definitions. So this was about list in HTML. Later in the course, when we create our full-fledged website or creating menus in the upcoming lecture, we will see that how we can utilize it in order to create different list menus and sub-menus with the help of those lists. Our second topic is about block and inline elements. There are basically two types of element in HTML which are called block and inline element. Block element has its own purpose and inline element has its own. Almost 60% of elements in HTML are block level elements, and there are up to I think 40% of elements which are inline elements. You can say that forms, tables, and these kind of elements are block level elements, and there are other different elements. For example, Spain, you can say, which is an inline element. So first we will see that what is the difference between block and inline element. A block element is the element which takes the whole space or width of an area when we write it. For example, it takes the space which it don't require. but it take it. On the other hand, inline element only take the space on the web page which is its requirement. So you may think that block level element are useless, but it's not, because there are different purposes of using block level element and also inline element. If we discuss it through an example, then you will better understand it. For example, I have an element in HTML by the name of div, which means division, starting div tag and then the closing div tag. So I have a block level element which is by the name of div. For example, let me give it some text. This is a block level text, and let me give it some style as well. For example, border 2 pixel solid green, and let me give it some font size 20 pixels. So as you can see that our block level element has occupied the whole area or width of our web page. Like it don't require this area, but it has take it. Although it is not useless, because in order to create different layout and different divisions in a website, we will use this div element, and it's really important. In the upcoming videos we will see that with the help of div element how we can create a full website. For example, if you required uh, a left side area, then we will create it with the help of div element. If you want to create a right side area, then we will create it with the help of div element. So it has occupied the whole space without requiring it or using it. It has taken it all. But on the other hand, we have another element which is inline. For example, I have h3 element and I'm writing some text. This is some text of heading with inline text and also other text. So for example, I use Spain. Spain is basically an inline element. It's called inline element because it goes inline with other text and occupy the space which it required only. For example, as you can see, let me give it some color so you will get to recognize it. For example, style is equal to red. So now as you can see that our inline text goes in line with our other text. It occupied the space which it only required and not anymore. If I give it some font size, then you will be able to see it more clearly. So as you can see that our inline text goes with our text, other text as well. So this was about block level and inline element. The third and last topic of our this video is about classes and IDs. For example, let me create some headings. Java programming, for instance, HTML programming, and then we can say that PHP programming, and inside it let me give it some text, some detail. This is about Java programming and many more programming details. We can say that this text is about HTML programming details, and this text is about PHP programming details. So for instance, if I want to give CSS or formatting to these three headings, then how I will do it? For each one I cannot write separately. Sorry, I can write separately, but I don't want to waste my time. And for instance, I want to give the same CSS to these three headings. In that case, I will use class. How? For example, I will say that class is equal to, I will give some name to my class. So our H2 element has the class by the name of language. I will use it to the two other as well, and the third one as well. So whatever CSS I write for this class, the language class, will be applied to three of them. How? Let us see. Let me go to the style, and in order to access our class, we will use dot. Remember this thing, that class has been accessed through dot and id through hash. So we will use dot and then the name of our class. So remember, the name of our class was language. In that case, for example, I want to give some color, blue, and we can say that border 2 pixels, solid black, and font size, you can say that 50 pixel. And for instance, I want to align my text to center. So now this CSS will be applied to all the three headings I have used here. How? Let us see. So as you can see that we have three headings: Java programming, HTML programming, and PHP programming. Three of them has got the same CSS because I have used the same class for three of them. So class can be used to more than one element in HTML. But on the other hand, we cannot use ID to more than one element. How? Let us see. For example, I have another element H2, and let us say that graphics designing, and let me give it some text. This text is about graphics. So for instance, I want to give different CSS to my this H2 element, then what will I do? I will use id is equal to name of id. For example, I want to give it the name my id, let's suppose. So this is the name of id. Whatever CSS I give to this id will be only applied to graphic design id and not any other element. Remember that we cannot apply this id to any other element. So why we use id? Because there are cases that we want to use different CSS to some elements, and we want to make it unique in regards to CSS. So in that case, for example, I want to access my ID, then I will use hash, and the name of my ID was my ID. And for example, I want to give it color red, and border 2 pixel dotted black and font size 50 pixel, and let's suppose text align left. So in that case you can see that our this element has got different CSS because we have used ID. So guys, this was about HTML lists, block and inline elements, and classes and IDs. Hope it will help you. I will see you in the next lecture and we will discuss forms in next video, which is really important and you must have to stay tuned in order to get important information about forms. I will give you complete detail about forms. Later in the course we will also have a complete project and I will show you that how to develop a full-fledged website using HTML. Thanks. Bye.